I was pretty, I was kind of a loner, and I had difficulty like making friends and connecting with other people, and I wasn't a naturally gifted athlete. Like I can't play baseball, I can't play basketball. I'm terrible at like any kind of sport that requires any kind of coordination. And I kind of fell into swimming around age 8 or 9. And it was like the first thing that I was naturally good at. And you know, when you're a young person and you're sort of good at something, that's kind of where you go. And so I really just moved in that direction. And I quickly got, you know, quite good at it. And I just loved the feeling of being outdoors. I loved the feeling of the sun on my back. And I love the feeling of like pushing my body physically, and that equation, that relationship between putting the work in and seeing the results.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's probably some weird masochistic aspect of all of that plays into, you know, like being an ultra endurance athlete.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's that push and pull, like the idea of like pushing yourself further than you think that you can go and getting to the other side of that. There's a certain like gratification that comes with that.
Right.
My mother was still in college, and certainly long before I was ever born. And you know, I share his name. His name was Richard Spindle. I was named after him. And so there's this weird kind of thing where, you know, I thought of him and I knew that, you know, if I didn't change the way that I was living, that I was headed in his direction, and probably quite a bit sooner, because he was not eating at Jack in the Box and McDonald's every day like I was.
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the other kind of caveat or corollary to that is that you know, I was able to recognize the power of that moment when on the staircase. Like I knew I have a window of opportunity here to change my life, and I was able to recognize how powerful those and how fleeting those moments are, because many years prior, when I was 31 years old, I had a similar moment. I'm in recovery for drug and alcohol addiction. And throughout my 20s, you know, I was a mess and went to some very dark places as a result of being an alcoholic. And I had that moment that you hear about with people in recovery, where they have their moment of clarity when they've hit their bottom and they decide, you know, today's the day I'm going to do something about that. So I wish I could tell you that I went to the bookstore and got a stack of diet books and health books and watched a bunch of documentaries like Forks Over Knives and read the China Study and all these wonderful, amazing resources that are now available to people that are looking to, you know, get healthy and stay healthy. I would have saved a lot of time, but that's not what I did. What I did was I turned to my wife, who had always been a lot healthier than me. She wasn't completely plant-based at the time, but she was always somebody who was trying to better herself and improve herself, which was fine for her, but you know, I'm the lawyer guy. Like I don't want anything to do with that. And at the time, if you were to open up our refrigerator, there was a pretty clear demarcation line down the middle between the foods that she was eating and the foods that I was eating. And she had always been trying to get me to, you know, eat better and adopt healthier habits, and I just couldn't be bothered and wasn't interested. But on this day, I finally was, and I said, please, you know, help me, will you help me?
You want to drive faster? Okay, drive faster then.
So what that looked like was, the first thing I did was a 7-day fruit and vegetable juice cleanse, which was another interesting experience. Felt like I was back in rehab, you know, detoxing off heroin or something like that. It was terrible. But
Really?
it was hard. I mean, the first day, I'd never gone a full day without eating solid food, so I had no experience with what that could be like. And by the way, like, you know, I'm the product of a very good Western education, and you know, I process things logically. And so when somebody says to me, you know, do this fruit and vegetable juice cleanse to like detox yourself, I'm like, detox myself off what? Like, what are these toxins, and how is doing this have any relationship to that? Like, none of it made any sense to me. But the point is that I was willing to suspend my ideas. Like my best ideas got me in the situation that I was in, so I was willing to take direction and try some new things, even if, you know, my thinking mind was rebelling against it. So I was willing to kind of do something different. And that's where this kind of juice cleanse thing came in. And yeah, the first 2 days I was lying on the couch groaning, sweating, like it was terrible. And I couldn't sleep, and it was horrible. But a couple days in, I started to feel a little bit better. I was able to sleep, like this brain fog started to clear. I had a renewed sense of vitality that started to surface in me. And by the time I hit the 7th day of it, I couldn't believe how amazing I felt. I felt incredible. My levels of vitality, my energy levels, everything was like through the roof. I couldn't remember the last time I felt that good in my body. And that was a moment where I really recognized the power of food on the body, right? Just how resilient the human body is and can be. Because I had treated myself so horribly for so long, so many years with drugs and alcohol and terrible lifestyle habits and fast food and all these sorts of things. And in a mere 7 days, by doing one simple thing, I felt completely different. And so that was like the seed that planted, that idea that Hippocrates said so long ago, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. So that's what really kind of intrigued me about taking the next step. Like, okay, now what am I gonna do? And I played around with a bunch of different diets. Most prominently, I sort of thought, maybe I'll do a vegetarian diet. That's probably healthier than what I'm doing. Again, I could have saved myself some time, and it would have been a little bit better if I'd read a bunch of books. But I really was running experiments on my body, and nothing seemed to be really working. No matter what I did, I was trying to recapture that feeling that I had on the 7th day of that juice cleanse, but trying to do that with finding a sustainable way of eating that would work within the construct of my life, a busy life, a normal, modern family life. And eventually, over 6 months of trial and error, that's what led me to a plant-based diet. I had sort of run the gamut with eating vegetarian, and I was like becoming a junk food vegetarian. It wasn't really working out. I'm back on the couch, feeling lousy and ready to just kind of give up. So what I realized was that just because I was removing animal products from my diet didn't mean that necessarily was healthy. And I think in today's day and age, it's easier than ever to become a junk food vegan. But what I did do was, I was at this point where I was ready to just give up on trying to find a way of eating that would work for me, and just thought, well, I tried, now I can go back to eating cheeseburgers guilt-free. But I thought, you know what? I'm halfway there, I'm eating vegetarian. What if I got rid of this processed food? What if I got rid of the dairy, some of these other things that I was eating that was making, that I didn't realize were the things that were making me feel lousy? What if I tried that? And I did it without any expectations. I didn't think that would make any difference. And what I discovered was that within 7 to 10 days of making that switch, I felt exactly the same way that I felt on the latter days of that juice cleanse. I felt amazing. And that was another kind of epiphany where I thought, wow, all I'm doing is eating plants, whole food, plant food, close to their natural state. Who would have thought that this would be the thing that would make me feel so good? It was anathema. It was completely at odds with everything I had been told my whole life about what to eat to not only feel good and be healthy, but to perform as an athlete, etc. And so again, this was another kind of wheel turning in this journey. And at that point, I thought, let me figure out what's really going on here. And that's when I started to kind of invest in the literature and read the books and watch the documentaries, etc.